faculty, administration, and members of the school board, community leaders, special guests, and most importantly, our veterans. I would like to welcome you to the St. Mary's Area School District Veterans Day Assembly. To begin our celebration, I would like all of us to please stand for the posting of colors by the St. Mary's Servicemen each by the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It is a privilege to speak at such an honorable service. I don't want to stand up here and reiterate everything you've been hearing about Veterans Day for the past however many years. We all know what Veterans Day is and what its purpose is, so I'd like to focus on a completely different view overall. When I was brainstorming about what to write about, I found a quote in my camera roll that I had saved from when my brother left for West Point. It said, "Only two defining forces have ever offered to die for you, Jesus Christ and the American soldier. One died for your soul and the other died for your freedom." Each and every person in this auditorium has some kind of relationship to the armed forces, whether it be a sibling, a grandparent, a neighbor, or a friend. For me, both my grandfathers served in the U.S. Navy, my aunt served in the Air Force, my next door neighbor served in the Army. 10 of last year's graduates are currently in the military, and my brother attends West Point Military Academy. These are only a few examples. Therefore, I've seen firsthand what the military can do to a person. It is painful goodbyes, it's PTSD, it's being misunderstood, it's missing holidays and birthdays, and it's not seeing your loved ones for months at a time. Not only is that rough on them, but it affects everyone and everything around them. What I learned was that it has to be in your heart to defend the country. It takes a certain kind of person who is willing to risk their life for country. It's about sacrifice. All of these people on stage have these qualities. As a country, we've been more than blessed with generations of brave and courageous men and women who have sacrificed their time and lives so we continue to live in freedom. Right now, as I'm speaking, thousands of soldiers, airmen, Marine, and Coast Guardmen are on the job around the world protecting America. They will be there tonight when we are sleeping. They will be there when we are out with our friends every Saturday night, and they'll be there every Wednesday and Thursday when we go out for wings. They'll be there every holiday this year, and they will be there missing their family, friends, and loved ones back home. Veterans Day is a day we honor our nation's heroes. These heroes I speak of could be sitting across the dining room table at us. They could be the older gentleman who is sitting in the corner of a restaurant. They could be right in front of us teaching us about science or English. These heroes are not rich and famous. They are something much more. So next time we think we don't have any heroes or role models in our lives, turn off the screen and look across the table at your parent, brother, sister, or grandparent, and know that a hero is right before your eyes. To the students, staff, and visitors, please find someone today that is a vet and ask them about their service, or just say thank you. To our veterans, the United States military will always be a part of you, and for that, you will always be admired and appreciated. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Gina. At this time, it is my honor to introduce the St. Mary's Area Concert Band under the direction of Mr. Chris Gankowski for the playing of the first musical number. It is titled Forged in Fire.
As I prepare every year to choose a piece of music for this assembly, which is by far my favorite assembly of the year, as a son of a father that served in World War II, Veterans Day is important to me. I chose this piece called Forged in Fire. It starts with a hymn-like pensive section that I use as a remembrance of those who have fallen before us to serve this country. Then it moves into a bombastic piece that I think of words like brave and honorable and military-like and passion. We have that section in honor of those that are living, those that are serving, and those who will serve in the future. So, from us to you, we dedicate this to your service and what you have sacrificed for us, and we thank you. This is Forged in Fire.
here today in attendance. And for those that may be watching on Channel 21 or online, if there was one thing I would want you to know about this event today, one thing I want you to take with you is that I want you to know that this is a gift to you. A gift from the young people of the St. Mary's area school community to the men and women that have served our country in the military. It is our way of saying that we respect you and we thank you for all that you have done for us and for our futures. So on behalf of our student body, I want you to know that we can't truly understand all that you have experienced or endured. However, we promise that as we grow older, our admiration will grow, and more importantly, we will in time fully appreciate the gift you have provided for us. Thank you, veterans. You are truly our local heroes. And from the perspective of a high school principal, I have always considered this event to be a labor of love, an opportunity to showcase the very best of humanity, to celebrate the goodness that exists in other people, to admire and appreciate the past, and to introduce our young people to the community that they will eventually inherit. And in a time when we are bombarded daily in our society with negativity, with cynicism, with divisiveness, we need to stop. We need to look around. And we need to see that we have heroes and role models and mentors and good people hiding in plain sight right here in our community. People like Tom Price and the members of our servicemen burial detail. People that have served their country with honor and distinction and continue to serve their local community. People like Jerry Sane and John Parapasic and John Showers. 3 former St. Mary's area students that have paid the ultimate price and now are forever memorialized on the Vietnam Wall. People like our local Vietnam veterans. Many of them are with us today. We miss Jim Steinbeiser and Leroy Whitaker, 2 of our Vietnam vets that attended this ceremony for many years. They are no longer with us. People like Randy Loudon, one of our own. Someone who spoke a couple years back about the death of his son in Iraq, his son Christopher, and about what it's meant to him to be a Gold Star parent. And people like the 121 family members that we will proudly display on our side walls of our auditorium at the end of our show today. Together we honor all these people and the many others that have answered our nation's call. And we also want to use this opportunity to draw attention to another issue that reminds us that war should only be used as a last resort. And that issue is post-traumatic stress disorder, an affliction that affects up to 10% of all veterans. And in its worst form, contributes to the growing problem of veteran suicide. Sadly, as a local community, we have experienced the sting of PTSD. 3 years ago, Todd Parisi was the guest speaker at this event. Someone with a larger-than-life presence and a big personality. And he forged meaningful relationships with a lot of our students. I have asked one of those students, Summer Herring, to speak on his behalf. Summer?
Greetings and salutations, fellow gladiators. I was asked by our principal, Mr. Schlim, to speak about a special person today. I know the majority of you knew why I greeted all of you with that statement. The special person always began his speech with that very sentence. This unique and uplifting soul that I want to speak about today is Sergeant Major Todd Parisi and his battle with PTSD. He was the founder of Team Spartan, and a youth group that inspired over 300 kids to be better individuals. His ultimate goal in life was to see people happy. He went above and beyond, putting others before self. Todd was one of the 22 veterans on March 29th that took their life, leaving the community devastated. I knew Todd for personally just merely a year, and in that year, his actions have impacted me tremendously. I felt his love and compassion he had in his heart impacted me greatly to be a better person. This man would take time out of his busy life to coach me and help me through my struggles as he was battling his own. I have a quote in my book. Now, that's not a quote that he wrote or published in the book. It's a quote he wrote to me. He issued me this book not long after I personally met him. It states, "Summer, I'm so very proud of you. Go after your dreams with all of your heart, and you can do anything you want. Boom. Best wishes, Todd Parisi." I had not noticed the signs of his suicide until after he passed. Some examples were taking down motivational posts from his truck, posting less on Facebook, and even discontinuing Team Spartan. This just goes to show that some of the nicest people you meet may face the most hardships. I now have a tattoo on my left arm, signifying strength, meaning his last quote on his Facebook page, saying, "Undeniable, undefeatable, unbeatable, for it's all merely a state of mind," with a Team Spartan helmet and angel wings, signifying strength and dignity as I travel through life. This is a call for action in our community. Check up on a buddy, call a friend. You could save a life. Let's work together and end 22 a day. In conclusion, I'd like to thank all of you for letting me speak about my friend today. Most importantly, thank you veterans for your service and your sacrifice.
Very well done. I also want our students, well, everyone here today, and for those that are watching on TV, to know a little bit about someone who maybe you don't know quite as well. About 10 years ago, we had a student here named Adam Waffle. Adam was a good kid, likable kid, friendly kid, kid that I spent some time with when I was a disciplinarian. Someone that acted really a lot like the kids that we see here today. I asked his father, Mike, to come today to tell his story. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Wolf.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Slim. First of all, I'd like to say how incredibly impressed I am by this particular program. Last night I creeped on your YouTube channel, and I think it was a 2016 publication was on there for this. I think it was 1 hour and 7 minutes long. Boy, has this come a long way since I sat in these same seats where you're at right now. I hate to say 33 years ago. Yikes, it's been a long time ago. But over the last couple of days since Mr. Schlim asked me to speak on this, I was making some notes and bullet points and cards. Well, after doing some YouTube searching, Googling, and different things about inspirational speeches for Veterans Day to this age group, I ended up throwing them out. So I'm literally here, sitting here winging this as I go. So I'm going to take a little different approach. What I like to do is tell you not to be like Mike. When I was your age, I did not know the difference between Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, anything. It was just another day for the family to get in the station wagon back then with no seat belts and go on a picnic or go to Parker Dam or something. Another day off school, another day off work. As I progressed through life, I noticed a couple little hints that I should have maybe picked on a little sooner. Like we're on family vacation one time. Both my grandparents were in World War II, my grandfathers. My one grandfather was shot in the back, and I never really knew that. I was probably around 10 years old. Here we are at the pool, and down in South Carolina, I believe somewhere. And here's a bullet hole in his back. Kind of stuck with me. I can still remember it vividly. But yet, I still didn't know the difference in the importance of veterans. time progressed, finished high school, track, basketball, everything we played. Got married, went to college, got married, had two children. Still really didn't pay much attention to veterans, I'll be honest. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way. Adam graduated in 2009. He was all signed up to go to Penn College, exactly the same discipline I went through for electrical technician, electronics type situation, or education. Then all of a sudden he came to my wife and I and says, Mom and Dad, he says, and this is where Mr. Schlim was alluding to, he spent some time with him. He says, there's no way I'm going to be able to not party out of school. So at least he was honest with me and himself. He says, I talked to all 4 different branches of recruiters and said, I'm going to join the Marine Corps through blessing. Well, what do you say? I mean, one of the first few times he showed some unbelievable maturity, being honest with himself, because college is not cheap nowadays, of course. So we don't want to waste that time and that money. So reluctantly so, my wife and I agreed. Adam went to the United States Marine Corps, went through basic training, and that's when I started to self-educate myself a little bit more on, the Marine Corps in particular, but veterans as a whole. And so it's a pretty nerve-wracking experience when you think your child goes off to basic training 3 months in the United States Marine Corps, Parris Island, South Carolina. And then he comes out and goes through what they call SOI, School of Infantry. At that point, he was dubbed to be a machine gunner. He'd carry what they call a 240 Bravo, 7.62, weighs about 31 pounds roughly. That's without no ammo. Every 100 rounds is about 7 pounds. Well, it wasn't too long after that, he got assigned to 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines down in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And he started working up for a combat deployment to Afghanistan. Now we thought him going through basic training was a little bit nerve-wracking. Knowing that your only son is going to go to one of the worst places in the world at the time. Their deployment, they knew at the time, was to Helmand Providence, Marja, Afghanistan to be exact. Just prior to this, the British were in there and they were trying to hold that. This is a valley where it's a lot of farms meaning a lot of poppies means a lot of heroin, heroin means a lot of money for the Taliban and ISIS. Taliban at that time primarily. So the British weren't doing so good. They were losing about 50 of their soldiers a day or a month, not to mention any injuries. So they sent in our Marines into this area. Pretty tough. All the units that went in there had a very, very difficult time. Out of a small unit, and in this particular case, the unit made up roughly 180 Marines. They lost 8 in country. And I have no idea how many were shipped back injured. And I mean lost, I mean died. After that, they came back, and as we speak today, I'm not sure the exact number, but it's in the low 20s, somewhere around 22, 23, I believe, out of that same unit have succumbed to their PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome, and have died by suicide. So, rewinding back in time a little bit, we graduated here, my wife and I, in 1986. Same year, Sergeant Todd Preezy, Michael Preezy, graduated. We knew Todd. His nickname was Whack, because he was a little bit wacky. He was a class clown. In the yearbook, he is a class clown. You know, him and I, believe it or not, we both supported mullets back then. We were 80s children, I'm sorry. Had those little combs that would stick out of our back pocket. But Todd had a jet black mullet, kind of crazy, buck teeth, always laughing, could diffuse any situation. At the time, I didn't recognize his sense of his leadership, that he would only grow as the United States Marine Corps, Sergeant Major. Well, the Marine Corps birthday is tomorrow. Happens to be my wife's birthday too, by the way. Happy birthday, honey. But the Marines take their birthday very, very seriously. And when Todd went to the Marine Corps, actually he was 17 when he actually joined after graduation. We haven't seen Todd since. He just disappeared. He went into being a scout sniper. He went out to California. I lost track of him after that. Because he's a pretty decent friend in high school. Well, Adam was just pretty much new to the 2nd Battalion 8th Marine Fleet, so he was getting ready to ship out, so we went down and we met Adam, and the weekend that we went down to see him, Adam had to go to a Marine Corps ball. So we drove Adam down about an hour south to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, big hotel. They're having a Marine Corps ball. It's like a prom. I mean, the girls are in gowns, and it's a big deal. You can see Sam Shefstick over there in his dress blues. All the guys are in their dress blues. Well, Adam is all excited. He goes in, he comes to sing. Jane and I go and have some fun on the boardwalk, come back, and Marine Corps style. Adam had a few beers, of course. And he gets in the car, he says, man, this speaker was just awesome. I couldn't believe how great this guy was. And for our son to give credits to his public speaker, it's pretty amazing. So he gives my wife Jane the little brochure pamphlet that they handed out. And there's Todd's face on the back of the pamphlet. He was a keynote speaker that weekend. So since then, Todd and I reconnected via Facebook, and then we became friends again. And we met up with each other several times, sometimes down in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. So, Adam finished out his tour of 4 years. His original plan was to stay in for quite a while, but he saw enough, struggled, got out of the Marine Corps, and then on 12/13/14, that's December 13th, 2014, he died by suicide. So I had to go through those whole stages of not paying attention to veterans, what they mean to us, what they mean to our country, the sacrifices they give. I had to lose my own son to fully recognize that. So don't be like Mike. I encourage you, as younger generation here, you are our future, to grab a hold and say thank you to these guys, young or old. No matter if they're in the Coast Guard, no matter if they're MOS, or they're a grunt, or they're administration, it doesn't matter. You know, these standard combat Army deployment nowadays is right around a year. Can you imagine leaving your family and going to a combat deployment, the stress? And it's hard on the wife or husband and the kids. I mean, if you would have a little 2-year-old and you come back into 3, how much does a child grow and mature in 1 year at that age? It's astronomical. And that's what they miss. That's what they give up. Knowing things. Right now, we're all volunteer service. So I just challenge you to say thank you to these vets. So when we see something on Facebook around this time of year, when you're seeing, whether it's the Marine Corps birthday tomorrow or the following day, Sunday, actual Veterans Day, to say thank you. To take that 2 minutes of silence at 11 a.m. on the 11th month of the 11th day, which is when World War I ended in 1918. So I just want to say, don't be like Mike. Use my slow learning as an example to maybe expedite that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waffle. At this time, I would like to call Poston Waffle to the stage for a very special presentation. Poston, come over here. God, here, all these people want to meet you. Student body, veterans, this is Poston Waffle. Poston is a 2nd grader. He goes to school at South St. Mary's. His teacher's Mrs. Reed, and all of your classmates are watching right now. So if you want to wait, let me just do that. No. Okay, we brought Poston here today because over the last couple of years, we have been trying to memorialize, have some type of presence, military presence in our building, so that we can be reminded as students as to what military life is about and why it's important for us to remember and to learn from our heroes in the military. That was the basis of why we put together our little thing on here outside the auditorium that Mr. Brown and Katrina Lewis really spearheaded. And we have tried to use that as a way of drawing attention to our military. So we have an addition to this. And that's why I wanted Poston to come up here, because we have it right here. We would like to have Poston unveil the new addition to our Veterans Memorial. And Poston, if you just take this and pull that away. Show everyone. This is a plaque that will have Mr. Parisi and your dad right down there, so that when you become a student here, he will always be watching you. So you can't take that home with you. But what you can take home is a medal that we made for you. And it says, in memory of your dad, Adam Waffle, United States Marine Corps, Veterans Day 2018, we present this to Poston Waffle. So can we have a big round of applause for Poston?
I would now like to introduce Mr. Brooks and the high school concert choir. The musical selection for today's celebration is titled Armed Services Salute.
The concert choir will be honoring our veterans in singing a tribute to the armed services. We will sing all 5 of the major armed force songs for the Army, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, and Air Force. To acknowledge and honor those that are here, I would like to encourage the servicemen and women to please stand when their service song is sung. I would also like to ask the audience to acknowledge the servicemen and women as they stand to be recognized. Here is a tribute to the armed services.
United States Army.
First to fight for the right. All we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence, sound and strong. 2, 3, 4, ha, 2, 3, 4. Wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
United States Marine Corps.
Fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First we fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
United States Coast Guard.
We place our trust in thee. Through howling gale and shot and shell to win the victory. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready, do or die. I Coast Guard, we fight for you.
United States Navy.
Farewell to college,
It is titled, I'm Not Home, the PTSD song.
He sat cross-legged on the sidewalk. A far-off look was in his eyes. In his hands, he held a piece of cardboard as everyone walked by. The sign read USMC veteran. I remind myself he's praying for me. So I stopped and said he fought to save my freedom. What can I do? What do you need? He said, I'd like to shower off these painful memories, get a shave and a pair of new jeans, a meal I don't have to eat alone. Find a place to let my guard down, a real bed instead of hard around, maybe an address and a phone. I know I've made it back, but I'm not home. He said, I saw a mortar take my best friend. In an instant he was gone. I don't sleep, I bawl my eyes out in the middle of the night. Can't let it go, I can't move on. Wish I could shower off these painful memories, get a shave and a pair of new jeans, a meal I don't have to eat alone. Find a place to let my guard down, a real bed instead of hard ground, maybe an address and a phone. I know I've made it back, but I'm not home. He handed back a 20 that I stuck into his coat. He said you took the time to listen, that's what I needed most. One day I'll shower off these painful memories, get a shave and a pair of new jeans, find a way to clear these minefields from my mind. Recognize the face in the mirror, see the man who used to be there. I may be down, but I've got hope. I know I've made it back, but I'm not home.
Our guest speaker today is someone that is very familiar to our town. Tim Pearson grew up on Mars Street and spent all of his childhood and adolescence as a member of the St. Mary's community. Following his high school graduation in 1989 from ECC, he enrolled in the Air Force ROTC program at Penn State University. In 1994, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and was commissioned an officer in the U.S. Air Force. Mr. Pearson retired from the Air Force on January 31st, 2015 as Lieutenant Colonel after more than 20 years on active duty. His final assignment was with the Joint Staff at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Prior to the Pentagon, he commanded the 332nd Expeditionary Communications Squadron in Iraq. While in command of the 332nd, he was also instrumental in the U.S. exit from Iraq in 2011. He was also the commander of the 56th Communications Squadron when assigned to Luke Air Force Base, Arizona. Over his decorated career, he has had 10 assignments, lived in 9 different states, and has received awards and decorations that include 2 Bronze Stars, 2 Defense Meritorious Service Medals, 3 Air Force Meritorious Service Medals, and the Joint Service Commendation Medal. He was also a qualified parachutist. He was deployed 6 times to the Southwest Asia, including once to Afghanistan and twice to Iraq in direct support of operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. He was sworn in as the city manager for the City of St. Mary's on October 5th, 2015. He directs and supervises the administration of the Police Department, the Public Works Department, the Finance Department, Economic and Community Development Office, and the Code Enforcement and Permit Office. Mr. Pearson is the son of Dave and Margie Pearson of St. Mary's, Pennsylvania. He is married to the former Bonnie Eisenman of Venus, Pennsylvania. And together the couple has 2 daughters, Katie, who lives in Pittsburgh, and Ellie, who is a student at Slippery Rock University. Please give a warm Dutch welcome to our guest, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Pearson.
Well, good afternoon. First, I want to thank Lindsay for that introduction. I truly appreciate the remarks. After everything she said, I think the coolest thing that I liked is that they let me jump out of airplanes for a while. I also want to thank the St. Mary's Area Concert Band and the choir for those phenomenal selections. All I can say is wow. I truly appreciate that. Also, special thanks to Sergeant Tom Price and the St. Mary's Servicemen Burial Detail for the presenting of the colors. That is something that will never get old for me. The American flag is something that holds a special place in my heart. Actually, the American flag that flies in my office today is the same flag that was at my side in my office in Iraq when I was in command of the 332nd Expeditionary Communications Squadron. I see it at the start of every workday, and I see it when I leave every day. It represents who we are as a nation, and I hope you feel the same pride when you see it. Many a soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine have fought for what it stands for. We honor them today, this weekend, and hopefully all year. I would also like to thank Mr. Schlim for inviting me to be part of this event, and more importantly, for taking time to put today's events together. Also to all the students who had a hand to play, all veterans, appreciate your efforts. Thank you. I would also like to take this time to thank Dr. Toth, Dr. Wortman, the teachers and administrators of this school for your leadership and your mentorship to our youth. I would like to welcome the elected officials and other distinguished visitors, especially my fellow veterans. It is my privilege to have this honor and this opportunity to speak with you as we approach Veterans Day weekend. It has been an honor serving this nation, and it is a pleasure to address a group of young people that are our nation's future. This Sunday is Veterans Day, an American holiday officially falling on November 11th, the anniversary of the signing of the armistice that ended World War I. Major hostilities of World War I were formally ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918 with the signing of the armistice. 100 years this Sunday. The commemoration of Armistice Day was recognized by the United States by a proclamation of President Woodrow Wilson in 1919. Then on June 1st, 1954, the name of the holiday was changed to Veterans Day as a tribute for the nobility of all soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have fought for and who are fighting for the United States. I encourage you, if you have time this Sunday, to visit the Diamond by 10:45 in the morning to watch the Veterans Day ceremony, run by the St. Mary's Legion Post 103. They do an amazing job, and it's something that you won't forget. But today, I want to talk about character, and what character, and how character will define who you become. Character is defined as the features and traits that form the individual nature of a person. It is your character that will define how you act, and more importantly, who you are. and then eventually what kind of person you will become. We are all faced with hardships, roadblocks, and challenges in our life. However, that should not be what defines you. What defines you is what you do during those times. And what defines what you do is your character. Your character is based upon your core values. Those values will guide your decisions. Each military service has a defined set of core values. They inspire each military member to do their best at all times. They are the common bond among all service members that unites them and ties them to the great warriors and public servants of the past. In the Air Force, they are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. I still hold those values today, and they will continue to guide me. What are your values? What guides your decisions? Think about it if you don't know. I am honored to teach a class on the Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor is the United States of America's highest military honor, awarded for personal acts of valor on the battlefield that go above and beyond the call of duty. In the class, we focus on the values represented in these stories and of these Medal of Honor recipients. We focus on integrity, doing what is right when no one's watching. Courage, the ability to overcome your fears, to do what is right. Commitment, the drive to see your goal through. And sacrifice, the willingness to give up something important to you for something that you believe in. It is easy to see examples in the extreme stories of these military heroes, but we focus on how to use these values in our daily life. How do you apply the values of integrity, courage, commitment, and sacrifice in your life? How are these important to being a good student, a good athlete, a son, a daughter, brother, sister, friend, or citizen of our country? The good news is that values can be learned. The military spends a lot of time and resources training its members on the importance of their core values. These values shape who young men and women will become in the military. If you want to do something great, start by looking at yourself first and ensuring the foundation is set properly. Try to grow every day and become a better version of yourself. Margaret Thatcher, the first female British Prime Minister, said, "Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny." What we think, we become. I challenge you to strive for greatness and decide what you will become. In this audience could be a future general, admiral, governor, congressman, teacher, lawyer, doctor, professor, or maybe even president. Who knows these days? General Edward Myers was the Chief of Staff of the United States Army, the highest ranking officer in the Army, an advisor to the President of the United States. And he was a St. Mary's kid, just like you and me. I would always tell my daughters that they had the opportunity to do whatever they wanted to be. America gave them that opportunity. They just had to put in the hard work and go get it. I sometimes pinch myself when I think of the things I was able to do in the Air Force. I was an engineer for the Air Force in the 1990s when we first linked to this thing called the internet. Back then, we didn't really know what it was. I was on watch in the Air Combat Command Operations Center during Y2K. I'm not sure how many of you even know what Y2K is. I was a member of the 5th Combat Communication Groups and spent deployments during 9/11 and Iraqi freedom. I went to Air Force Space Command and worked on communication satellites with our international partners, to commander in the largest fighter wing in the United States Air Force, to supporting Joint Special Operations units while deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then back to Iraq in 2011 as a commander again as we prepared to depart and move home. Then finally to the Pentagon, giving morning intel briefings to our 3-star general before he went to meet the chairman of Joint Staff. It has been a whirlwind that I will never forget and I never take for granted. It is hard for me to believe that they let me do all those things. A kid, born and raised here in St. Mary's. And it feels like only yesterday I was sitting where you were sitting, thinking about homecoming weekend or about the upcoming Christmas break. It really wasn't that long ago, maybe a little. But you never know the opportunities that are going to come your way. The key is being observant, ready, and willing to push through any obstacle. Today, I'm again blessed to be the city manager for the second largest city in the state of Pennsylvania, by landmass 99 square miles. We are second only to Philadelphia. Did you know that? Now, I can wear a suit jacket, a tie, and a shirt, and act all professional, but I'm still a kid at heart. I'm a fan of quotes, and you never know where you'll find a good one. I still watch fantasy movies, and one of my favorites is Lord of the Rings, and that's much to the chagrin of my wife. The Cliff Notes version of this movie is that the fate of the world rests on the shoulders of the meekest creature in that world, a hobbit. There comes a point early in the movie where the hobbit, Frodo Baggins, is starting to freak out. He's starting to get worried that he doesn't know that he can do what's being asked of him. So he turns to this wise old wizard and says, "I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened." The wizard Gandalf turns and says, "So do all who see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to do is to decide what we do with the time that is given us. Simply put, what matters is what we do, not what happens to us. Focus on what you can change and not what you cannot." As I said at the start of my speech, what defines you is what you do during those times. What defines what you do is your character. I will leave you with one final quote. It is the quote that I end my class with every year, and it is from author Ted Hughes. He simply said, "You are who you choose to be." You can't change what comes at you, but you have the power to decide what you do when it does. Remember, you are who you choose to be. Today I challenge you to choose and set the course for who you become. You are our future. Thanks again for allowing me to be part of today's events. It has been truly my honor. God bless this school, our community, and God bless America.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Pearson. At this time, I wish to call High School Assistant Principal Warren Beck to the podium.
The St. Mary's Area School District extends our gratitude to all the members of our alumni, our community, for their service to our country. Special recognition goes out to the following family members of the staff that have served in one of the branches of our military. Ivan Wortman, U.S. Navy, father of Jim Wortman. David C. Schatz, U.S. Army, father of Karen Wendell. Donald Hank Stoner, U.S. Army, Stanley Harries, U.S. Army, grandfathers of Amy Simons. Donald M. Buttery, World War II Staff Sergeant, father of Candy Eckert. Paul Hoffman and William Gaudette, U.S. Army, grandfather and uncle of Bobby Ginther. George Gankowski, U.S. Army, father of Chris Gankowski. Charles A. Lovett, U.S. Marine Corps, father of John Lovett. Santo Dragone, U.S. Army, father of Melinda Pastorero. James A. McGonnell, U.S. Army, World War II, father of Jim McGonnell. Jack Haynes, U.S. Army, grandfather of Heather Kajanser. Tom Wilson, U.S. Army, father-in-law of Steve Bauer. Alec Steinbauer, U.S. Army National Guard, grandson of Superintendent Dr. Brian Toth. John Schlemm, U.S. Navy, father of Joe Schlemm. David Kirkland, U.S. Navy, father of Fawn McMahon. John Cooney, U.S. Navy, and Emeron Samick, U.S. Navy, grandfathers of Jen LeBond. Vincent Davis, Corporal, U.S. Marine Corps, husband of Betsy Davis. Doug Butterfuss, U.S. Army, Vietnam, father of Danielle Butterfuss. Carl Green, Harris Green, and Tom Green, World War II, uncles of Amy Reed. LaJoy Newell, U.S. Navy, and Patricia Newell, U.S. Air Force, father and sister of Margie Schlemm. Staff Sergeant Kenneth Van Giesen, killed in action in Afghanistan in 2011, cousin of Crystal Winston. Donnie Ginther, Vietnam, father of Dawn Eric. Kevin Haynes, U.S. Army Reserves, and Charles Seidlinger, U.S. Navy, father and grandfather of Heather Kajansen. Robert Joseph McDivitt, U.S. Army, father of Michelle Keel. Barb Wortman Berry, U.S. Air Force, sister of Jim Wortman. Paul Cower, U.S. Army, grandfather of Tracy Meeker. Joe Lucchini, U.S. Army, grandfather of Beth Patton. Gary Tamberlin, U.S. Army, father-in-law of Jennifer Tamberlin. Lieutenant Colonel Richard A. LeBlanc, U.S. Army, father-in-law of Jim Wortman. James Hansloven, U.S. Army, Korea, grandfather of Jim Hansloven. Ronald Seckler, U.S. Army, brother-in-law of John Lovett. Tom Werner, U.S. Army, husband of Wendy Werner. George Dallison, U.S. Army, grandfather-in-law of Angie Catalan. Glenn Capella, U.S. Air Force, father of Ann Wendell. Dave Carabardi, U.S. Marine pilot, brother-in-law of Dave Ferdowski. Mario Sura, U.S. Marine Corps, grandfather of Dom Sura. J. Walter Knobloch, U.S. Navy, grandfather of Aaron Hanslow. Vito Farah, U.S. Army, the grandfather of Casey Farah. Victor Pastorero, U.S. Navy, father-in-law of Melinda Pastorero. William Millender and Larry Millender, U.S. Army and U.S. Navy, grandfather and father of Dr. Sean Millender. Victor C. Alio, U.S. Army, father of Judy DePrater. Joseph Piccolo, U.S. Navy, husband of Evelyn Piccolo. Jan Anthony, U.S. Marine Corps, father-in-law of Tim Henry. Rudy Kidori, U.S. Air Force, father of Lisa Alexander. William Mann, U.S. Army Air Corps, grandfather of Tim Worm. Calvin Bruce File, U.S. Navy, nephew of Pam Anderson. Richard Ambrosius, U.S. Army, and Susan Ambrosius, U.S. Army Nursing Corps, parents of Lena Gavazzi. Frederick A. Jones, British Army, World War I, grandfather of Kate McGaughan. Jerome Reinhold, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, grandfather of Jen Polino. Walter Vincent Zawadzki, U.S. Army, prisoner of war, grandfather of Jen DeFilippi. Neil Ginther, U.S. Army Ranger, brother of Don Eric. R.J. Schreiber, U.S. Army, and Louis Lucchini, U.S. Army, grandfathers of Rachel Schreiber Red. George Kadori, U.S. Army, and Mario Kadori, U.S. Air Force, uncles of Lisa Alexander. Amy Dietz, U.S. Army, sister of Mary Mativi. Albert Catalone, U.S. Navy, grandfather-in-law of Angie Catalone. Carl John Amend, U.S. Army, father of Chrissy Kuhar. Mervyn Barnett, U.S. Army, father of Ann Hart. Roger Morelia, U.S. Army, grandfather of Jim Hanslow. Clayton Kennedy, U.S. Army, uncle of Casey Farrell. Frank Kranitz, U.S. Army, father of Jerry Kroll. Connie Bauer, U.S. Air Force, cousin of Steve Bauer. Bill Schatz, U.S. Marine Corps, and David Schatz, U.S. Air Force, brothers of Karen Wendell. Jeffrey Steinbauer, U.S. Army, son-in-law of Superintendent Dr. Brian Toth. Dave Wahlberg, U.S. Army, William Rowlett, U.S. Army, father and grandfather of Michelle Tripodi. Ernest Bertolacio, U.S. Army, father-in-law of Tammy Bertolacio. Harry Eckenroth, U.S. Army, grandfather of Casey Farrell. Joseph Schutica, U.S. Navy, father of Evelyn Piccolo. Larry Millender, U.S. Air Force, and Eric Millender, U.S. Naval Academy, brothers of Dr. Sean Millender. Patrick Schlemm, U.S. Military Academy, West Point, son of Joe and Margie Schlemm. Edna and Legs Belegy, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Army, parents of Amy Reed. Colonel David L. Morgan II, brother of Brad Morgan. George Toth, U.S. Army, father of Superintendent Dr. Brian Toth. Donald Castles, U.S. Air Force, father of Donna Castles. Robert Perryman, U.S. Navy, grandfather of Molly Whalen. Major Nyland Murphy, father of Maureen Gorman. Douglas Eckert, U.S. Air Force, uncle of Julie Chicola. Michael McMacken, U.S. Army Air Corps, father-in-law of Fawn McMacken. Joseph Becker and Michael Becker, U.S. Army, uncle and cousin of Ann and Tony DeFilippi. Casey Mativi, World War II, Purple Heart, grandfather of Carrie Van Forest. John Wright, U.S. Marine Corps and Douglas Clark, 82nd Airborne, grandfather and father of Amanda Coons. Charles Spargo, U.S. Army, and Rodney Spargo, U.S. Air Force, grandfather and father of Amy Boatman. Thomas B. Gill and Thomas E. Gill, U.S. Army, father-in-law and husband of Linda Glass. Richard Pontius, U.S. Marine Corps, brother of Tammy Berlacio. Randy Simbeck, U.S. Navy, father of Aaron Simbeck. Ethan Fox, U.S. Air Force, son of Gina Fox. Walter Betzler, U.S. Army, grandfather of Dana Smith. Michael Lorenzo, U.S. Navy, and Eugene Swanson, U.S. Air Force, grandfathers of Kristen Lorenzo. Emil Slotnick, U.S. Army, grandfather of Adam Brooks. John Leslie, U.S. Navy, grandfather of Jen DeFilippi. Robert Caseman, U.S. Army, Albert Catalano, U.S. Navy, and Francis Lovett, U.S. Army, uncles of John Lovett. Ryan Keel, U.S. Marines, husband of Michelle Keel. Matt Schreiber and Matt Marasco, U.S. Army, grandfathers of Jesse Schreiber. Dr. Sean Millender, United States Air Force Academy, St. Mary's Area High School teacher. Chris Casey, United States Air Force Reserve, St. Mary's Area Middle School teacher. St. Mary's Area School community proudly salutes those who have gone before us.
John Showers, Adam Wolfel, Leroy Whitaker, Jim Steinweiser, and Christopher Loudon, and all those closely connected to St. Mary's school community. Please join me in a moment of silence to be followed by the playing of taps. Please take time to honor a veteran or one of our servicemen or women currently serving our country. The St. Mary's Area School District would like to thank all in attendance, with special thanks to our guests and veterans. Audience, please stand. And as our guests and veterans leave the stage, please join me in a final round of applause.